So I've had quite a few bad experiences with strange people at my house. From when I was young and an old man would come banging on our door late at night demanding to see me, to the time when a man showed up on my doorstep late at night holding a knife because he mistook my house for my neighbor's. These experiences all caused me to be very cautious about opening the front door to anyone, or even being in the house alone, especially at night. But one evening was definitely the worst. It was around 6 p.m. in November of 2018. I'm from England, meaning it was already pitch black outside at this time of the year. I had just gotten home from work and was sat upstairs in my room watching YouTube on my laptop. My mom shouted up to me that she was going to pick up my brother from his work and would be stopping off at the petrol station on the way back. She was going to be gone for a while, so she asked if I wanted to come with her. I said no and carried on watching my video. I heard her pull out of the driveway. I was 17 at the time, so being home alone at night was nothing new to me. I was used to the eerie feeling that it brought on. But after around 10 minutes, I started hearing noises coming from downstairs. At first I thought nothing of it. I just thought it was my cat noisily searching for food in an empty bowl. But then I remembered, my cat was sitting at the edge of my bed. I paused my video and listened to the sound closer. I realized it was the sound of banging on my back door. This instantly creeped me out, until it was followed by the sound of keys jangling. This calmed my nerves a bit. I thought my mom must have dropped off my brother before heading to the petrol station, and he was just trying to get outside. I let the noise continue as I kept watching my video. He could get quite angry sometimes, so the loud banging was nothing out of the ordinary, but it just kept carrying on. More banging sounds, and the sound of the keys jangling, then dropping, then more banging. That's when the fear really hit me. I didn't think it was him. I walked out of my room slowly and sat on the stairs, carefully listening to the noise. It definitely was not him. I'm a very anxious person, and everyone gets those times late at night when they hear noises and immediately think the worst. I was trying to convince myself that this was just one of those times. So I decided to bite the bullet and just walk straight into the kitchen, turn towards the back door, and face whatever was causing that noise. But as I turned the corner into the kitchen, I heard one last loud bang, and then the clatter of footsteps running away. I examined the back door. The cat flap had been completely ripped off of the door, and the plastic from it was scattered everywhere. I'll admit, at this point I was still trying to console myself. I was trying to convince myself that it could be anything other than people trying to break into my home. I ran back to the stairs and sat down. I needed to call my mom. I needed to make sure she really hadn't dropped off my brother early. The phone rang a few times, and then it picked up, but it wasn't my mom on the end of the line. It was my brother. I shouted at him, asking if he was home. He said no. Then my voice started to break with terror. "Please be serious. Are you at home right now?" He said no again. Even though he said he wasn't home, I still begged in my mind that he was joking just to get a scare out of me. But then he heard how scared I was, and he began to worry too. I explained to him everything that happened. He started to scream at me, saying I should have called the police. He's never been the protective type, but I could tell how worried he was. He told my mom to rush home right away. I dialed the police. I tried really hard to stay calm as I told them exactly what was happening. I hid back in my room with the door tightly locked. A bit later, I started to hear talking from my back door. Then the banging started again. This time I couldn't stay calm. I burst into tears while explaining what was happening to the dispatcher. She stayed on the phone with me for what felt like forever until my mom, brother, and police all pulled up at the same time. They burst into the house and all ran to the back door. They saw what was done right away. There was a set of keys on the counter by the back door visible through the kitchen window. Someone looked through the window and saw the set of keys. They then took a broom and snapped it in half over the door handle. They then used the broken broom to reach through the cat flap and knock the keys off the counter and pull them outside. However, out of pure luck, when they broke the broom over the door handle, they somehow managed to snap the door handle clean off, making the keys they just got useless. This was extremely lucky. Otherwise, they would have gotten in, no questions asked, and I would have been sat in my room quietly, completely oblivious. It was clear afterwards that they had been watching our house for a while. They were waiting for the exact moment that they saw my mom's car pull out of the driveway. I'm not sure if they knew I was there alone or not, but I know after they initially saw me they ran away, and they made a choice to come back. Let this be a lesson. Always keep your keys in a place that someone breaking a window or a cat flap cannot reach. This happened quite a while ago when I was home alone with my dog. We were watching TV at about 11 p.m. when I heard a car pull up outside and the engine shut off. I figured it was obviously a neighbor, but my nosy dog wanted to have a look and went to the window. He kind of messed the blinds up when he went, so I got up to fix them. When I did, I noticed a car parked across the street from my house. I couldn't really make out any of the details, but it looked like the driver was still sitting in the car. I didn't really think anything of it. I got a drink and went back to watching TV. Quite a while had passed since I fixed the blinds. I'm not sure how long, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, when out of nowhere I thought I heard a tapping at the door. Not a knock. This was much lighter and very quiet. My dog had sat up to look at the door and I paused the TV. Then that same tapping started on the window. I went to the window and I opened the blinds a little. There was a man standing there. I couldn't make out his face properly, and he immediately walked back to the door and started tapping at it again. That doesn't sound very frightening, and I'm not sure why, but I suddenly had a really awful feeling. I felt absolutely terrified, and I had no idea why. The tapping at the door never stopped, but something in my head was saying if I opened the door to him, then something really bad would happen. I walked away from the door and went upstairs. I was going to open a window to ask him what he wanted. It felt a lot safer doing it this way. I opened the window and I asked him the question. He said in a really quiet voice that he was delivering pizza and he told me how much it cost. At this point I felt stupid for being frightened. I looked down at him and I told him I didn't order any pizza. My dog had followed me up the stairs and was starting to let out the occasional growl and bark, which wasn't really unusual for him. I turned around and was trying to shush him when the man downstairs told me he had the correct address and I better get downstairs now and open the door to pay what I owed and collect my food before it got cold. I was starting to get really confused. I most definitely didn't order any food. I began telling him that when I noticed he wasn't even carrying a pizza. He wasn't carrying anything at all. I told him again that he had the wrong address and he got really angry. He kept telling me to open the door. He was going between angry and sort of trying to persuade me to go back downstairs. I asked him where the pizza was. He said he had a hold of it. It was really dark, but he definitely didn't have anything in his hands. My dog was really making quite a bit of fuss at this point, and the stranger had turned into a broken record. Come downstairs, open the door. Come downstairs, open the door. All the noise must have alerted my neighbor, who did open his front door. When the man saw this, he didn't say a word, but he practically ran across the street to the car that was parked across from my house. He got in his car empty-handed and sped off. I have no idea what he wanted, but he certainly wasn't a delivery driver. What really freaked me out was the fact that he saw my dog. My dog is quite obviously a large breed, and the man definitely saw him through the window. And after seeing him, he wasn't deterred at all. It seems even stranger and less random that he actually drove to my house as though he had planned on showing up. If you're enjoying this video so far, please leave a like and subscribe, as well as turn on notifications for weekly horror content. Thank you. This happened when I was 13. I lived in a duplex with my dad and brother. It was a 2-bedroom. I shared a room with my dad, while my older brother had his own room. It wasn't uncommon for both of them to have plans at night, while I stayed home to play video games, alone. This night was no different. My dad was probably at some bar, and my brother, who knows where he was. I was playing the original Resident Evil on my PlayStation, and at around midnight, my eyelids were starting to get really heavy. I decided to go to bed. I slept with my bedroom door wide open. Now, not one time in all of the years that we lived in this place did my dad or brother ever come home by entering through the back sliding glass door. There were a couple of times when my brother didn't have his key for one reason or another, but on those times he would knock on my bedroom window and ask me to let him in. My dad always had his key and would always come home through the front door. No one ever entered through the back sliding glass door. But on this night, I heard the back door slide open. It was an old door, and sliding it open wasn't easy. It was also very loud, and I heard it crystal clear. I laid in bed, wide-eyed. My imagination was going crazy. I heard whoever it was walk through the dining room, then through the kitchen, and then to the living room. They made no attempt to be quiet. After a brief, silent pause, I saw someone walk by my bedroom doorway. My heart was beginning to throb. Whoever was in my house walked into the bathroom right next to my bedroom and flipped the light on. The light poured into my bedroom, and I was laying there, terrified, completely exposed by the light from the bathroom. You might be wondering why I didn't shout out for my brother or my dad. This is because, like I mentioned earlier, I knew it wasn't them. No one ever entered through the back sliding glass door, and there was no one else it could have been that would have made sense. Not a family member, not a friend. I knew it was someone who didn't belong. The person then walked out of the bathroom, leaving the light on, and went straight over into my brother's room. They started making a ton of noise. It sounded like they were searching for something. All I did was lay there, shivering. After a few more minutes, the person walked by my bedroom again. I expected at any moment a stranger would walk into my room, but they didn't. I heard them making noise in the living room, walking around, huffing and puffing. Then they started to walk back and forth by my bedroom repeatedly, into the bathroom and back out, over and over and over. At the time, I was 100% sure they were messing with me for some reason. They knew I was there, whoever they were. I heard the person making noises. By these noises, and by the huge figure that I saw walking back and forth, I knew it was a man. He continued walking around each room except for the one that I was in. Then, suddenly, I heard him walk back through the house, back to the back sliding door, slid it open, and then he left. I continued to lay there in bed, terrified, wondering what just happened. After a while, out of sheer exhaustion, I fell asleep. In the morning, I found that my dad and brother were home. I have asked both of them dozens of times, and they both promise it was not them. Plus, again, why would they come in through the back door and then leave again through the back door, especially when no one has ever used it? This was 21 years ago. I've accepted the fact that I'll never know who it was or why they were there. Nothing was missing either. What really makes me wonder to this day, though, is why did they never come into my bedroom? The door was wide open. Why did they walk past it at least 20 times? This video has 3 disturbing true stories that happened over winter break. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one too.